Hi haters, I'm Mursha, and today we are going to be exploring the cursed land of short dramas. You may have seen ads for these shows or maybe come across an episode on your For You page on TikTok, but if you have a normal social media feed and you don't know what we're going to be getting into today, you're in for a ride. All aboard! Short dramas are like modern day soap operas, but they're filmed and released in vertical format so you can watch them in minute-and-a-half increments on your phone. Usually there's about 70 parts to any given short drama, so it's really like a full-length movie's worth of content. The catch to these though is that on the official websites that post these shows, like Real Shorts, have the first 10 episodes for you to watch and the rest of the episodes are behind a paywall. And I mean, I get that they need to pay their actors and the crew that produce all of these, but I just feel like it's kind of a scam. Each episode is around 60 cents, and then there's about 60 or more episodes that you have to pay for, which totals to like a minimum of $36 to watch a full short drama. And I am all for paying my creative artists, I truly am, but I really don't think that these shows are worth almost $40. The writing is straight from a Wattpad fanfic, the pacing is terrible, and the acting is so overdramatic that it's comical. But I'm not here to yuck anyone's yum, okay? I love a bad movie and I love reading smut, and honestly, to my core, I loved watching this series that jumped out to me, The Virgin and the Billionaire. And there is a lot more of these that I'm dying to watch, so if you enjoy exploring this with me today, then just let me know by either liking this video, commenting, or subscribing maybe? I know, I hate being like a like and subscribe YouTuber, but you know, people say that call to actions work, so here I am. This short drama begins with a blonde girl, Nikki, telling another blonde girl, Cindy, that she needs to sleep with the hottest, most eligible bachelor in the city, Charles Kane of Kane Industries.
I'm Charles Kane.
Because he desires to marry a virgin, which Nikki is not. If Cindy does this favor for Nikki, she will save Cindy's mom by moving her to the top of the kidney transplant list. Are you still with me? So Cindy goes into this dark hotel room with Charles, who says that he likes the way that she smells. Okay, Charles, does she smell like extra virgin olive oil or what? But they do the deed and she's well on her way to getting her mom that kidney. And I don't know, the title of this short drama is really misleading because the girl loses her virginity within the first minute of this story. So like, I feel like it should be titled something like The Billionaire That Took My Virginity, or I Slept with a Billionaire to Get My Mom a Kidney. But in the morning, she trades places with Nikki to give the impression that she was the one that he slept with, because you know, the room was really dark and maybe he couldn't have seen who he was with. Cindy reveals that she is a maid for the Jenkins family now that her mom is in the hospital, because, you know, I guess when you're on the kidney transplant list, you just have to stay in the hospital for a kidney to come around. That is the flow of America's healthcare system. Cindy says that the Jenkins family abuses her while she works, but she says that they're very sneaky about it.
Are you stupid? Look how sloppy your work is.
They've been abusing me the entire time, but they're sneaky about it.
She then goes to her college class where her professor is gone, which is not a plot point, but also never gets addressed. And who is there to replace him? The hottest, most eligible bachelor in the city.
I'm Charles Kane.
And I honestly thought he was a temporary stand-in until like the university could get an actual accredited professor to like come and teach this class that kids are paying thousands of dollars to take. But no, he is the professor for the remainder of this short drama. And it just makes the power dynamic in their relationship even worse. Professor Charles then asks Cindy to go around the classroom and collect everyone's assignments. And she goes to place them on the desk. And he grabs her arm, and it is so weirdly aggressive for no reason. And this is a thing about these short dramas, is if you want to make a game out of it, drink every time somebody touches somebody else's arm. After class, she goes back to the Jenkins house to work.
fucking bitch! You're 38 seconds late.
Where they slap her silly and tell her to put on a face mask because Nikki's now fiance is coming over for dinner and they don't want him to get confused because the two blonde girls look exactly the same. Allegedly. But they're too busy beating Cindy up that she never actually puts the mask on. So Charles is just staring at her the whole time. There's also another guy that comes with Charles, Harvey, who is Charles's cousin. And I love that this is his sole descriptor. I don't think he has anything to do with the plot at all, but he's here. Nikki then trips Cindy, who spills her tray of like cookies or whatever. And the mom starts slapping her silly again. But our hero, Charles, steps in and says,
Don't touch her.
Nikki and Charles then agree to get married in 3 days, but now Cindy is falling for him. Nikki steps into the kitchen and starts choking Cindy because she says she noticed how she was giving Charles googly eyes the whole night, which makes Cindy drop her tray of cookies again.
Better clean this up, bitch.
But Charles was actually there listening in. He pulls Cindy away to have like a private conversation with her in like the hallway of the house or something. And he realizes then that she was the one in the hotel room. But Cindy denies it because she thinks that if she admits that it was her, the Jenkins won't go through with the deal to get her mom the kidney. And instead of just like dropping the conversation or anything, Charles says, prove it, which to me, I was like, oh, of course she could just like say that she was at the hotel. Maybe she still had like the hotel card or, you know, a piece of note, parchment that they give you to say thank you to the maids. But no, he just like keeps trying to kiss her as if that's some kind of proof that she was the one in the hotel room. But before they actually kiss, they get pulled back into the party or whatever is happening at the house. And so Cindy finally brings the tray of cookies outside to the 4 other people at this house, and we get to see the mom absolutely shine here.
That would be so uncomfortable for Cindy.
This lady acts with her entire body, and I can't tell if it's awful or amazing. So Charles invites Cindy to dinner that night and even sends her a dress so she has something to wear. But when she puts it on, Nikki and her mom come up to her room and physically rip the dress off of her and then lock her in the room for the night. And when Charles finds out that she's locked away, he says,
You let her out or I'm going to tear down the door.
Then they desperately try to recreate the Titanic clock tower scene with a new dress that was delivered by one of Charles's assistants. And this part after dinner is so confusing. Like, I can't even tell you what's happening, but I'm going to try. It takes place outside the house. Charles is talking to his cousin Harvey, who's trying to convince Charles to not marry into this family who's just playing him. And when Cindy walks out the front door, Harvey leaves that conversation to ask her to work for him and pay her twice as much as the Jenkins family pays her, which she refuses because, in case you forgot, the Jenkins family has a monopoly on kidneys. Then we see Nikki outside getting yelled at by her mom with some random guy in the background. She says,
What are you doing out here wasting your time on nice ass when you've got a billionaire inside?
which I guess we're supposed to think that this man pulling weeds is nice ass. And also, why is her mom using that code name for him? Cindy then goes inside to be a maid, and then the mom comes into the kitchen and calls Cindy a whore like her mother, grabs her hair and holds her over the boiling sink water, but says that she's not going to scar her face because she might need it to play Nikki's double in the future. The mom admits that she was the one who came up with the plan for Cindy to sleep with Charles, and it turns out that Charles is listening in again on this conversation. What is it with this nosy Nelly? It then becomes known that Nikki ran off with nice ass Gardner through a flashback of a scene that wasn't shown 5 minutes ago. And this Gardner is so fugly. I don't understand why they couldn't have made him hot like Nacho in 365 days. If you know, you know. I also want to point out that these people are supposed to be like billionaires, if not millionaires. But the kitchen looks like it hasn't been updated since the 1980s, and not in a cute vintage way. Like, why is there a TV with a built-in VCR installed in the kitchen? Then the mom leaves to get Nikki, and Charles comes into the kitchen, starts touching Cindy's pinky like he's holding space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity, and gives her a pep talk that helps her stand up for herself when the mom knocks over the trash can like a sim. When she's doing her homework that night, she gets a message from her mom that says,
"Happy birthday in 3 days, Cindy."
And you know what? I thought I was the only person that did that. It's definitely much more meaningful to wish somebody a happy birthday in 3 days. My friends love when I do that. I think the thing I love the most about this short drama, and probably any short drama, is that you will never be able to predict what happens next. For example, this next scene.
Hey, Cindy. Nikki's busy and you look extra fuckable tonight.
And nothing about this scene makes sense. Nikki had just invited Charles to bed, but here he is standing outside the front door saying he was just about to leave. And the nice ass gardener said Nikki was busy. And like, I don't mean to be that guy, but what else is Nikki even doing if she's not with either of these guys? The gardener says he has every right to be in the house and to touch Cindy because he's the gardener. Like, sorry, my guy, but you are no Edward Scissorhands. Then Charles punches him in the face, breaks his nose, and then physically picks up Cindy to bring her back to his house. Harvey then calls Charles, saying that he just got off the phone with Mr. John Jenkins, asking why Charles left Nikki for Cindy. And he tells Harvey that if John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt has a problem with his wedding, to call him directly.
You tell John that if he has questions about my wedding, that he can call me directly.
Will you answer if he does?
No.
Cindy asks Charles while they're at his house why he's being so nice to her. And he says, because I want you. And you know, I feel like that's the most realistic thing about this short drama. And in this scene, Cindy pushes him away, saying that she doesn't want to disrespect his engagement to Nikki. But the next day in class, Charles interrogates her in front of the entire classroom.
One more question. Cindy, why the fuck are you pretending like we didn't sleep together last night?
Like, what do you want her to act like, Charles? This is giving desperate, and plus the power imbalance here is criminal. So I have no idea. Maybe they did have sex again, which even if it was a consensual relationship and he was just a stand-in professor, I'm pretty sure he'd get fired for acting like this. When Cindy arrives back at the Jenkins house for work that evening, the mom and I guess the dad are measuring her for a dress. They said that Nikki was so sad when Cindy left with Charles the night before that she drove drunk with Rick. Don't know who the fuck that is. They crashed and she is now in a coma. So now Cindy has to play Nikki again and marry Charles. But up on the altar, Charles sees right through it and somehow knows that it's Cindy. Nikki's mom then slaps the shit out of Cindy for kissing him on the altar, like you're supposed to do at a wedding, which doesn't make sense because this is what the parents were telling her the night before.
Am I supposed to sleep with him after the wedding? Move in with him? Have his baby?
And yet again, you will not guess what happens next.
I'm back, bitch.
So Nikki takes the wedding dress, Cindy puts her maid clothes back on, and Charles is pissed because he sees right through all these shenanigans. He announces that he's going to take Cindy and leave again, but Nikki, so quickly back from her car crash-induced coma, faints right into his arms and then has no pulse.
There's no pulse?
They lay Nikki in a room, and Cindy suggests that they take her to the hospital because she has no pulse, but the mom says she's just sick. Damn, has anyone else been so sick that they lost their pulse? And during Nikki's recovery from being dead, Cindy has to finish the wedding night. So Cindy and Charles have sex again. And it's so hard for me to take this man seriously with a sexy cowgirl tattooed on his bicep. Maybe he really likes Chapel Roan. Cindy finally comes clean about the fact that she's been unsuccessfully secretly filling the role of Nikki the whole time, which is her mom's kidney transplant. They go the following morning to see Cindy's mom in the hospital, where Charles offers to pay the rest of her medical bills because turns out that the Jenkins family was lying to her about the care that she was receiving or something. I don't know. And Cindy introduces him to her mom as her her husband. They then go back to the Jenkins family so that Cindy can slap the mom, and I think her name is Janet, and tell her that she's not going to work for them anymore. When Janet is about to slap Cindy back, Charles stops her with his strength and says,
"Don't touch my wife."
Then Janet shakes Cindy to death for trying to come clean about what the Jenkins family was making her do to get her mom a kidney. Cindy faints for 9 hours and wakes up in the hospital with Charles there. And when he looks at her medical report, he finds out that she's pregnant. Cindy later then asks Charles why he agreed to marry Nikki in the first place, and he says that it was to gain access to Cindy. What? I just don't understand this at all. But whatever, they're super happy and they really want to expose the Jenkins family for who they truly are. But then Nikki comes running into the room, and I'll admit I have no idea where they even are at this point, to ask Cindy why she is with her, Nikki's husband.
How did you get in here?
Nikki then claims that she's pregnant with Charles's child, and she even pulls out a doctor-issued pregnancy test to prove it. Even back at the Jenkins house, Mr. John Jenkins pulls out a medical form from one of those like blue folders that third graders use that also confirms that Nikki is pregnant with his child. Charles denies ever sleeping with Nikki, and while that may be true, Nikki then clarifies that Cindy had saved some of Charles's sperm to give to Nikki. And holy shit, I wish I was making this up. Like at this point, I really can't tell if humans or AI wrote this. Nikki then pulls out video footage of her and Cindy talking from the front doorbell camera to make the deal to get Charles's sperm. And I just want to point out that Charles asks for this video to like give to his IT guy, which I don't know if that's Harvey or not, but this never gets brought up again. They never say it was tampered with. They never ask about it again. It's something that just goes out the window, and it's so silly. The dad then asks Charles what he's going to do with the 2 babies, and Charles says that if they're both his, that he'll raise them. But Nikki immediately objects to this, saying that Cindy is going to get an abortion and that Janet has already scheduled it. John Jenkins then says,
"What man hasn't made mistakes with the help at some point?"
Which is insane. And then immediately one-ups himself by saying,
"We can't complete the merger unless Cindy gets an abortion."
But before Charles and Cindy leave, Mr. Jenkins tries one last time to negotiate. Charles sells all of his stocks with Jenkins Holding, threatening to destroy their entire company. So John Jenkins gives in, allowing Cindy to keep the baby and continue the merger. Nikki then gets so upset that she punches Cindy in the stomach and then goes absolutely bananas, threatening to kill Cindy and her baby. Like, I feel like this would be a good point in the movie where they could like use the doorbell footage from this to take Nikki down. Cindy goes back to the hospital to check on the baby since she got punched in the stomach, and luckily everything is fine. But her mom enters the room to congratulate her and says that maybe Cindy will have twins just like her. But Cindy never had a sister, and her mom never had twins until her mom lays down the biggest plot twist in short drama history. Nikki is Cindy's twin sister. And apparently Charles knew the whole time. He says that after he saw the 2 of them, he had Harvey look into things. So it turns out that Harvey has a purpose after all. And he found out that the legend has it that Sherry, Cindy's mom, and Janet, Nikki's mom, were both pregnant at the same time. And it was well known that John Jenkins sexually assaulted the maid, Cindy's mom. When the moms gave birth, Janet's baby was stillborn, and Sherry did have twins, Nikki and Cindy. Janet then took Nikki in place of her stillborn because, you know, that's just like a really normal thing for people to do. And basically all of this to say that Cindy isn't just a housemaid. She's also an heiress. So Charles and Cindy are now going to like work on fixing things legally so they can actually be married and then get revenge on the Jenkins family. Cindy then learns about a breaking news story about Nikki going to a hotel with her new billionaire husband, Charles Kane, which I have no idea why this would be breaking news, but Cindy goes to the hotel to find not Nikki, not Charles, but Janet inside the hotel room, and she's ready to force Cindy into having an abortion. She starts stuffing pills into Cindy's mouth after tying her to the hotel bed. But of course, Charles then shows up because he's everywhere all the time. And Janet tries to sneak out, and Charles chokes her and threatens her about leaving the hotel alive. But the second he turns to Cindy, she sneaks out anyway. So like, I don't think his words held any meaning here. They then received notice from the hospital that Nikki is a match for the mom's kidney. And apparently there are no other matches in the world for this kidney. And so they have to devise a plan for Nikki to freely give up her internal organ. They try playing the "that's your real mom" card, but Nikki won't even give in for that.
I don't give a fuck about her or a fuck about you.
Nikki first says that the only thing that would make her do it is if she can have Charles, but after realizing that that's not gonna happen, she says that she will do it if Cindy aborts her baby.
A life for a life.
Back at the hospital, the doctors tell Sherry that she has 24 hours before she dies from a kidney failure, and Charles promises that he will do whatever it takes to get that kidney. He goes back to the Jenkins house, sits down with old daddy-o John Jenkins, who says that he can make his daughter Nikki do anything he wants. Father of the year. John wants Charles to sign over his entire company to him, which is some true black market shit. They perform the surgery, and Janet shows up saying that part of the deal is now that Cindy has to move back into the house because Sherry is going to want to live there after the surgery because she apparently loves the Jenkins family for some reason. So of course, the only logical solution here is that Charles also moves in. When they're back at the house, which I'm now assuming is the Jenkins house, Cindy asks why Charles chose her. And he says,
"Because you're you, loving, unselfish."
My guy, do you mean selfless? Anyway, now it seems like all Cindy and Charles do is kiss and have sex, which they continue into the classroom the following morning, but the dean spots them.
Shit.
But not to worry, Charles has the perfect solution of how to get out of this situation.
We come out to the world as a couple, let everyone know that we're married. I can't get fired for fraternizing with one of my students. I'm married to her.
Like, okay, Charles, that's not how this works at all. That's not how anything works, but okay. So they book an interview with the news station to announce that they're married, but there's more important breaking news. Nikki announcing to the world that Cindy has stolen her life, her husband, and is trying to force her to abort her child. But before we get into that, Cindy then finds out that Charles gave up his company to give her mom the kidney that she needs, but he reveals that he wouldn't have done it if he didn't have a plan. They call the cops on the Jenkins for, I guess, embezzling money into Jenkins Holdings.
I want to speak to whoever's in charge.
And Cindy confronts Janet with the paternity test of Nikki's baby, which goes over really well.
You lie! Conniving! Stupid bitch!
John and Janet then get arrested, but when they get to Cindy's mom's room to get her out of the house, she's not there.
Looking for mommy?
Nikki calls saying that she is holding her mom hostage and her arm looks incredibly scary while she's saying all of this. To find out where Nikki took Cindy's mom, Charles starts to interrogate Janet and John.
Where did Nikki take Sherry?
They find out that she was taken to a warehouse nearby where they are greeted by Nikki.
Hey, baby. Bitch.
She still wants Charles to choose her, but he tells her with all of his chest,
I will never choose you, Nikki, in this life or the next.
Nikki then pulls a knife on them, but instead uses it to cut herself to play victim and cause a scene in front of all the news reporters at the warehouse. She plays herself up as a hero for giving her mom the kidney, but Charles recorded the phone call when she called earlier, and Cindy plays it in front of the reporters, and Nikki is history. They then finish dealing with Janet and John, deciding to burn down their entire company and send them to jail. Cindy is now so pregnant that it looks like she's just stuffing a pillow under her dress and wants to become a business lady herself. So as they're starting up their S-Corp, her water breaks and she delivers twins. But it's not really twins. It's actually Nikki's baby that she abandoned. And that's basically the end. I don't know how to end this if the content that I'm talking about also ends very abruptly. I mean, they say some nice things about like breaking the cycle, which dare I say is better than it ends with us. And they kiss one final time and it fades to black. So what a ride. And I actually unironically loved watching this so much because it's so unhinged and so unpredictable. And like I said earlier, there are so many more of these short dramas. So if you liked this video, please let me know. I would love to explore some more of these with you guys in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.